Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragonix, and this is Super Ubie Island Remix. $9.99 comes out in the Steam store today. It is by Notion Games, which you probably haven't heard of, but you might have heard of Andrew Augustine. He's on the Forbes 2015 30 Under 30 Game Developers, sort of a rising star in the industry, you could say. But awards don't make games, developers do. And the question is, does Super Ubie Island Remix have enough for you in the platforming genre? That's what I'm here to find out, but before I begin, I want to make sure you guys know that this key was obtained from the publisher Black Shell Media for the purposes of review. That won't change my opinion in the end, but you should know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? Now, it's said that the game takes inspiration and influence from Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, which makes a little bit of sense because those are some iconic platformers at this point. The controls are basic here. You jump, you can double jump, and then you can float down using your balloon in certain cases. You have to use the environment wisely, as you see here. There are birds that I can bounce on, and sometimes there are multiple paths that you can go on. I can stay on this turtle, or I could have just jumped from bird to bird at this point using the balloon appropriately. Now, I do appreciate that. I do appreciate the fact that those who get a handle on the skills that are needed for this game can rush through a level if they time their jumps right and if they use their skills wisely. Now, the controller and the keyboard controls complement this rather nicely. You have precise control on how you're jumping, and there isn't any necessary sliding or anything that could really mess you up in terms of the precision platforming here. It is right where it needs to be. This is also complemented by a nice aesthetic. Now, the game isn't going to win any awards for its artwork. A lot of the designs are simple, they're very basic, not a lot to them. When you compare it against a game like Ori and the Blind Forest, or even things like Adventures of Pip, the game is not going to compare very well against them. But it does the job. The game is trying to focus on the gameplay in question, and again, it does the job in terms of making it clear where you can go and what you can do at times, at least from the artwork standpoint of it. Now, when the game shines, it shines when it captures the feeling of those old Super Mario games that it's trying to emulate. Things like being able to hit enemy after enemy and getting bonuses for that. So, for example, I hit 5 enemies in a row, I get an awesome multiplier at that point, which is rather nice. It does give you reasons to do that, even though the points really don't matter, very similar to Whose Line Is It Anyway? With that said, a lot of platformers nowadays are capturing the feeling of Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island in their own unique ways, and that's where I think Super Ubie Island doesn't necessarily do a good job. See, in terms of mechanics, unfortunately Super Ubie Island doesn't have anything unique it's bringing to the table. And sure, you can make a solid game with a solid concept, but you do need something to stand out, and unfortunately I can't think of what stands out in Ubie Island. Actually, I do know what stands out about the game. It's not a good thing. It's little portions of the game that really stand out in terms of game design that doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, as you saw there, I died from the TNT. Okay, that makes sense. TNT, it's explosive, I will die. But I activated at this point, and I'm like, okay, fine, let me see what's down there. What is the point of that TNT is my question, and it's little things like this that really sort of stand out to me. There's no reason for that TNT to be there, it's just sort of there to blow up for no good reason at this point. There's no way of using it to get to another area, so on and so forth. It's stuff like that that feels like maybe it was part of a bigger design plan and it just sort of left in there. And the thing is that this game's design has changed significantly when I started playing the game at this point. It had a live system, for example, and it was scrapped right before this video was created, about a day before at this point. So it's obvious that the game was undergoing massive changes, and at the last minute something else was changed in the overall picture. With the Kickstarter being as low as it was, it's obvious to me that something happened there in terms of, okay, you obviously didn't get everything done that you wanted to get done at this point. Now, in terms of technical performance, the game does run rather well, and it runs at 60 frames per second, which is what you want for an action platformer. On the flip side, however, it's the other sides of the technical argument where things start to fall apart. For example, when you go to close the game, the application doesn't actually close even though it looks like it does. It runs in the background at that point because of the wrapper they were using, so you have to go to the task manager and actually quit it. They are aware of this and are trying to fix it, but with the game being so close to release, I would expect that to be fixed by now. In addition, it's moments like this bonus door I can't go in, and I've tried this several times on this level. In particular with the doors, they're very sensitive. At times, some of the doors don't open at all unless if I use the D-pad on my controller, but on other times when I'm using the control stick, it's almost like when I'm jumping and changing levels in the level select that I'll accidentally go into a door because for some reason it thinks I pressed down. See, you're seeing me struggle here, like, why is it not working? And then all of a sudden I decide, oh, let me hit the down. Okay, I hit the D-pad down. What I think is the bigger problem in the long run is its lack of content. Yeah, there are 4 overworlds with 6 levels in them each, and those levels aren't exactly the longest at some points. Some of them can be finished within a minute or two. And the thing is that when I compare it to other games of the genre, games like A Squirrel Lost Light, games like Adventures of Pip, even though they have different mechanics and whatnot, there's just a lot more content in those games, and it's hard to justify a purchase of this game over games like that at this point, especially when I feel like the game's replayability isn't there. Now, it wasn't necessarily helped by the original implementation of the save system. When I started this game, the save system was on the overworld screen, and you had to use coins in order to purchase it. Needless to say, I missed it the first time around, and because of that, I had to replay those first levels all over again, and it didn't play well the second time around. I knew what to do, and I knew how to jump through it, but it felt rather boring, and there wasn't a lot I could do otherwise to, improve the experience. Again, there is a factor in terms of replayability, especially for platformers, perfecting your run and things like that, and I just don't think that Super Ubie Island had that portion of it. Now, the game does have boss fights, and you do get a cutscene before each boss fight. Basically, Ubie is an alien, and he's trying to find the parts to his ship that sort of crash-landed, and his rival, Dr. Terrestrial, is obviously trying to stop him because that's what evil people do. Of course they do. The boss fights in this game are rather simplistic. In this boss battle, I'm supposed to defeat this huge bird at this point, and the fact of the matter is, all I have to do is jump on his head over and over again. Now, sure, there have been bosses like that in Mario games, for example, but it just felt like there was no oomph to it. Again, there is sort of the epic encounter that you expect with a boss. It didn't feel like an epic encounter. In fact, it was rather simple and easy, even when he changed his patterns. See, the thing that I'm having real trouble with this review is the fact that Super Ubie Island should be a game that I enjoy. I mean, it's got the basic mechanics there, it's got all the things that seemingly would make the game nice, and sure, it's got a couple of problems, but yeah, every game has got a couple of problems. But the thing when it comes down to it is the oomph factor that I talk about, the knockout punch. The thing is that Super Ubie Island does not have it. It does not have that unique feature that really makes it stand out compared to everything else. Even smaller games can have that in some way, but in Super Ubie Island's case, it just doesn't. And maybe it's part of the fact that I expected more from somebody who was a 30 under 30 developer. Yeah, I know it's a title, and yeah, this game can be considered good by some people, but I did expect some innovation, for example. And unfortunately, when you put that title in the store description, I do expect you to push the genre a little bit. Does the game do the job in the platformer genre is what the question boils down to, and in my opinion, it does to a certain extent. Yes, the game is repetitive at times. Yes, the level design could be better, and yes, I feel like the game does miss on certain elements of it, but at the basic core, I do think the game does work, and it really makes me want to see more from the developer in question more than anything else. Again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I want to see more of the work and see how he improves the next time around with a bigger budget, hopefully, and a little bit more experience under his belt. Now, if you liked what you've seen so far, and you think that you can get over the possible content lacking, then yeah, I do think Super Ubie Island may be for you. It does have a Super Mario World feeling to some degree, and yes, it does have a nice little charm to it, some nice animation, and good performance, even though it's missing some technical options, as well as things like, the ability to mess around with sound sliders, for example. But yeah, it was a good experience in that right. It's not for me, definitely, because I expect a little bit more at this point, but it may be for you. Alright, this is Drynix signing out. I hope you have a wonderful day. Again, I will leave my Steam review when it's up in the description below. If you like this video, hit that like button, and always comment if you have any questions about the video or the game in question. I'd be willing to answer them. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. All right, I will see you all next week with a lot more content. I'm going to go, gargle my throat out at this point because it's on fire. It's probably the reason why I'm going to not have a video on Thursday at this point. Sorry about that, but yeah, my voice is hurting. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button in the middle of the screen. The last video I did will be in the top left, and a related video to this will be in the top right. I do have a Twitter handle at the bottom left and a Facebook page at the bottom right. And of course, you can always subscribe to the Google Plus portion. Anyway, thanks for watching and keep on gaming.